there are quite a few parts of Australia that have been flagged as having that increased risk of significant fires this season. So that means fires that are of a scale or of a complexity where you would require outside resources to come in. So that includes large parts of northern Australia and southern and central Queensland, as well as southwest Victoria and the neighbouring southeastern corner of South Australia. And so what this is based on is basically things in the environment, so how dry it is, how much vegetation is out there, and it's combined with the seasonal outlook for spring. So in terms of why these places in particular have that increased risk, the outlook is saying in Queensland there's a fair bit of dry grasslands out there caused by winter frosts and dry winds. And there's also been lots of rainfall in Queensland and the Northern Territory too, which has meant there's more vegetation out there. In those parts of Victoria and South Australia, the outlook's saying the landscape's already dry enough that any lack of rainfall over spring could tip the scales.
Right, and what do we know then, Tyne, about the rest of Australia for bushfires this spring? New South Wales risk is, quote, normal, but we have seen fires in New South Wales already.
Yes, that's a really good point. So a normal risk of fire shouldn't be confused with no risk of fire. In Australia, we see bushfires every season. We're very familiar with it. Those places that have been flagged as having a normal risk tend to have a bit of moisture in the landscape and a bit of greenness out there still, which has kept them a little lower. But as we know, it can only take a couple of very hot, dry weeks to quickly turn that around.
And what's the spring weather outlook then around the country? Can we expect higher than normal temperatures?
Yeah, so the signs of a warmer than normal spring seem to be the most confident part of the spring outlook, particularly for northern Australia. There is an 80% likelihood that that part of Australia will be warmer than normal, and a decent chance that it will fall into the unusually warm side of the scale too. That's the same for Tassie and the south coast of Victoria. Not all places are coming up as warm, so southern Western Australia where I am, and also a pocket around Sydney are showing up not as warm, not necessarily cold, but just not so clear.